the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. It's time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Derek Pearson, brought to you by Canopy Street Market.
Boom! We are back here on One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket. Obviously, I am not DP. He is still recovering from a Monday Night Football loss. He went to watch his Commanders unfortunately lose on a field goal there. Jake Moody, brand new to the team, was the hero last night for the Bears, who are all of a sudden 3-2. That NFC North getting even better, the bottom getting better. So it's going to be competitive, going to be fun NFL season all year long. DP will be back in town today, so he'll be back. He's going to have a cup of coffee in town. He's got some UFC events and stuff to do later on. Nick, you're going to have a cup of coffee in town. I saw you haven't been out as recently as that, but you know, from Chicago now. We'll be going to Minnesota here for the game this week, which is funny, is some of the backdrop of what this week is for Husker football in a weird way, because there is so much speculation about what might be coming around the corner, maybe with that Penn State opening and Matt Rule being linked to that job. It's funny, we just talked off air about the confidence level that Matt Rule is in Lincoln next year. And if it wanes at all, you know, after a day of kind of digesting all the information, it's still going to be, a primary talk in college football pretty much until that job is filled. Obviously, it'll die down a little bit, but it's going to be a backdrop to Husker football, I think, for the remainder of the season. Certainly going to amp up when Nebraska travels to Happy Valley, if Nebraska has taken care of business by then. And that's why I think, there's the possibility for this to die down a little bit is also strange, because it would be tied together with Nebraska losing. If Matt Rule in Nebraska win and go, win 9 or 10 games this year, then I think not only the Penn State job, but other jobs might be interested in what Matt Rule could do, because it would be, in further solidifying the program builder that he has and the year 3 resume that he has. And so it's buckle in, get ready for the ride. But I told you before the show, Nick, I'm a little bit more confident today as opposed to yesterday that Matt Rule might not be leaving Lincoln. But I think a lot of that is due to Penn State's search is going to be
expectations for what they can bring in,
right?
For who they can sway.
Yeah.
So you're more, and just to provide context for the listeners, you're more confident in that Matt Rule doesn't get offered the job. That's what it is.
Correct.
Because we can all agree that if he gets it offered, he's gone. Is that where you're at? Whoa. That's dramatically different.
I would. Yeah. I mean, the most faith that I have is that he would not be offered the job unless Nebraska again wins 9 or 10 games.
I guess so.
And I think that there's a lot more questions in that side of things than the opposite. And so I mean, if he's offered the job, do I think he'll go? I think it'd be pretty tough to turn down.
Yeah.
At the same time, and we talked about this yesterday, coaches don't take jobs with a fear of failure. But he just watched what happened to James Franklin, and talk about a job chewing somebody up and spitting them out.
Yeah. In such a quick fashion.
Yeah. But in totality, it's a weird thing, because if you sat back and you asked Penn State, 12 years ago, especially coming off, Bill O'Brien, and before that, the whole scandals before that. And I don't think Bill O'Brien ever gets enough credit for what he did at Penn State. I know James Franklin took it to the next level, but to initially be able to withstand what was there, and he turned that into an NFL job. People can forget that.
And let's not act like if Boston College was in a better spot, Bill O'Brien would be in this conversation too.
He would be, but they're awful. I don't know what happened to Boston College.
They're awful. Well, they lost their quarterback and they didn't replace it.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. I mean, Tommy Castellanos was really good at Boston College, and then they just did not replace him. But ultimately, Nebraska is where they're at. It's going to be a very long process. Nebraska does play Minnesota on Friday. confidence level in Nebraska being able to win on the road for 2 straight weeks. What was it? What did Matt Rule say yesterday? It's been since 2006 that they've won back-to-back road games.
It was a conference road game. I don't know what the stat was exactly.
It was since 06. They have not won back-to-back road games since 06. You want? What did we talk about? Blue blood status recently yesterday. There you go.
That's a big stat.
That's a glaring stat. Now, I do think Nebraska wins. I think they're like 9.5-point favorites or whatever. I don't know if Nebraska covers. I could really care less about that. But this Minnesota team offensively is not very good. I mean, they are not good at all. They're the usual rushing attack that we're accustomed to seeing from Minnesota had 30 yards last week.
Yeah.
Their quarterback, Drake Lindsey, is still, I think, adjusting to the college game. He played in one game last season as a true freshman. He's a redshirt freshman this year. He only attempted 5 passes in 2024 for Minnesota because they had Brosmer back then. But ultimately, they don't have a lot of weapons on the outside. Their running back, Darius Taylor, led their way in receiving last week against Purdue. This was a game against Purdue. I was watching it last Saturday night while I was watching the pain of the Chicago Cubs. I was also watching the Purdue Minnesota football game, and Purdue was up 20-13 going into the fourth quarter. Minnesota outscored them 14-0 in the final period. This is not a good Minnesota team. I like PJ Fleck as a coach, but there's no reason Nebraska shouldn't win on Friday.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But I mean, I guess that's, it kind of leads to the bigger discussion with what Penn State is looking at. Can Matt Rule earn that job even beyond, the win total by beating the Michigan States and the Minnesotas and the UCLAs and the Northwesterns of the world? I'm not sure. And we talk about it too. We talk about the wild ride and all that stuff. And again, I think that more than likely, 95% sure this thing lasts until December. I mean, maybe they find somebody that's not currently coaching and you jump on it there. But in all likelihood, we're waiting until the end of the regular season for Penn State to fill their job. I mean, it's just the amount of pressure and interest in those Nebraska games is going to skyrocket. Obviously, Nebraska, USC, all that. But when you really kind of just get to the final ones, I mean, Penn State, just thinking about what could be there, especially if Penn State starts to win and their interim coach makes a little bit of an argument for maybe taking that job. That could be fascinating. And then we always know there's something on the line for Nebraska and Iowa. They usually lose whatever that is in a loss to Iowa at the end. But especially if there's a little bit more there, can any of those games? So Nebraska, I wonder if I'm from Penn State's angle, do they need to beat USC? Do they need to beat Penn State? I mean, what does Matt Rule need to do?
Think about we were talking about that off before we got on. Like how bizarre is it going to just feel ahead of Penn State? How bizarre that's just going to feel so strange going in and knowing obviously all the rumors that are out there and things will evolve and things will change and who knows what, maybe Nebraska's extended Matt Rule by that time. Who knows?
Yeah.
But just the whole idea of like, I don't know. I just, it is going to have such a weird feel around that game, especially if Nebraska still has one loss by that point.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it brings it kind of to the further discussion. Nebraska has been able to get over these kind of close games, win, games they had to come back against Michigan State and Maryland. Again, still wondering the quality of those teams. Even Cincinnati, I think it's a pretty solid team. Don't get me wrong. But their big victory over Iowa State, which bolstered the top 25, is now lesser now that Iowa State has lost to Colorado. So I guess from some angles that I've definitely seen from across the country and here locally too, is are we sure that Matt Rule has fixed everything here at Nebraska enough to kind of impress moving forward? And that's why I say, that Penn State Iowa game, I mean, it could be just incredible drama. But also, I mean, if Nebraska goes 2-2, leading into those games, I don't think there's a whole lot of drama left there because I don't think, the shine of Matt Rule turning things around at Nebraska, may at that time be dampered a little bit. Now, at the same time, a win in Happy Valley at, there one way or the other wouldn't that solidify it? Might really, really help there. And it's crazy because for Nebraska too, I mean, a lot of this is from the Nebraska lens, is it has opened up that Penn State game. Once thought, I mean, preseason, nobody was giving them a shot. Is now obviously, we have to see what Penn State looks like. I think call it a pick 'em right now, but even when they're getting 20-point favorites over the last couple of weeks, they've lost. So it will be a fascinating ride. I can't wait to, like we were kind of saying yesterday, to buckle in. And it does start this Friday against Minnesota. But again, a loss there. And I think your Vegas odds, which have Nebraska, Matt Rule near the top of the Penn State jobs, I mean, I think it dramatically drops from there. So it's just going to be fascinating to watch as this play out. And then, from there, nobody's really looking into the next step. I know we've had some questions about who would take over at Nebraska, what would be the interest there. I think you kind of get there when it's official, right? But I mean, there's no Scott Frost waiting in the wings. There's no there's nobody that would be obvious.
Frankly, like, we're still learning about Troy Dannen.
Yeah,
I think that's the big part in all of this. That in not only if Nebraska has to go find a new coach, who's Troy Dannen able to lure to Nebraska, at least have a conversation. But then second is in this moment right now, how does Troy Dannen handle it? How does what are Troy Dannen's next actions? Like, that's where it's interesting for me, that I'm most interested in learning about. Is we still don't know how Troy Dannen operates in these types of moments when it comes to football. This is why you hire Troy Dannen. He was a football-centric hire, and that's fine. That's what Nebraska probably needs in the long run. Like, Trev Alberts was very much a all sports. Football's first and foremost, obviously, but all sports matter a lot, and they do. And Troy Dannen certainly cares about volleyball and volleyball and men's basketball and other stuff. They care about those sports. Don't get me wrong, but it is football at the top of the list, and it needs to be, right? Because we're going to have tons of people texting and be like, well, Nick, they make the most money. And I get that, right? But also, we don't know. Athletic directors have very few opportunities to hire coaches and have very few opportunities to prove how they operate in these types of situations and circumstances. Your legacy, especially at a place like Nebraska, is being written with how he handles the whole Matt Rule situation right now. Whether he extends him and Nebraska in 5 years has to fire Matt Rule, whether he extends him and Matt Rule has instantaneous success, continued success, and Nebraska goes to a playoff, or he says, nope, you know what, Matt, you're extended through 2030. You're going to be making $12 million a year soon in just a couple of seasons. You're solid enough. If you want to walk, go ahead and walk. We'll be okay. That's part of him writing his legacy as well. I think we're learning a lot, and we're going to learn a lot about how Troy Dannen operates under these circumstances too, which is an angle nobody's talked about.
Well, and it's a lot of moving parts here, but I think you're right. And that's what kind of makes the whole thing fascinating as well, is because in my mind, Troy Dannen should not be, listening to the First Take and oh no, okay, well, Matt Rule's the favorite. Let's write him up a new extension. If I'm Troy Dannen, if I'm Nebraska's brass, I also am interested how the season plays out and what a Minnesota or Northwestern game looks like.
You can't be so quick to pull the trigger.
Right.
Like, you can't be, because Nebraska's gotten themselves in trouble in the past for just giving extensions blindly without seeing anything or without really knowing what's going on. Now, I do think Troy Dannen's pretty hands-on. But on top of all of that is with Troy, like, I just think back, like, legacy matters a lot to athletic directors, and the way that they're viewed, not only nationally, but within their institutions, I think matters a lot to these guys. And the way, like, go back to the last couple, right? Trev's legacy obviously is hurt because he just left, right?
He cared a lot less about his legacy.
He cared a lot less, but I think for Trev, though, like, the end goal is commissioner of a league is right. a big time job, and I still think that even though his time at Texas A&M, I think it might have actually been expedited potentially because they lost their president just a couple of weeks ago. But then on top of that, you think back to Bill Moose. Okay, what was his legacy? It was bringing in Fred, Scott, and Will Bolt. Like, that was it. He got the big three there. Trev, it was the decision to fire Scott Frost when he did. And frankly, to bring in Matt Rule, right? Troy Danon has made decisions in terms of fields and naming rights, and obviously Danny Busboom Kelly, but that is also kind of just there for you.
Right.
And I think John Cook also played a massive part in that. This is the big one at Nebraska. You cannot have a bigger decision on your desk than what Troy Danon is potentially going to have in a couple of months, whether that is decision to extend, decision to stick with Matt Rule, or decision after Matt Rule leaves on his own accord, and the decision that he goes forward with on who he wants to lead Nebraska's football program. There's not a bigger decision at Nebraska for Troy Danon. There's not a bigger decision that also will impact his legacy as much as this, because he can do everything right. He can do everything right. But we know it, Bach. Football is the main driver. And if you get the hire wrong, you instantly, people forget about all the little stuff. And you can continue to do all the little stuff correctly, but if you miss the wrong one, then people are always going to talk about how you missed the big one.
Absolutely. As you said earlier, after athletic directors are connected to football hires, football coaches are connected to quarterback choices.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It kind of just goes on down from there.
Absolutely.
So it is fun to kind of see how all that stuff kind of plays out. Again, Nebraska, a game against Minnesota, a little bit of kind of the secondary story this week. But as you mentioned, it will be an interesting one and continue to impact the dialogue that we have with this moving forward. As it will be, as you know, as again, it just is going to be fascinating to watch this thing play out.
This is where it's interesting, because so 4636 on the text line, once again 402-464-5685. He says Troy Danon needs to call Matt Rule's bluff and tell him, give us 10-2 and we will talk. Are you willing to do that? Because at 10-2, he becomes a lot more intriguing for other, and this is where athletic directors, the great ones, are able to identify it before everybody else. The great ones are able to identify it and are willing to put their reputation on the line and essentially risk having to fall on the sword a couple of years later if they make the wrong choice. If Troy Danon, let's just say it right now, if Troy Danon comes out and extends Matt Rule through 2030, so he's going through 2030 right now, I believe, 2031 potentially. If he extends him 2 years, 2033, let's just say that, and he gives them, he's going to get paid an additional $1.5 million a year. He's making 8.5 this year. Let's say next year he's making $10 million, but Nebraska goes out and wins 6 games. Nebraska goes out and wins 7 games. Oof. You're paying top 10 nationally for a coach, and you're barely making the Pinstripe Bowl. With larger figures and larger contracts come larger expectations. And so it's a real like dicey situation, Buck, because I think we'd all love for Nebraska to be like, no, there's not one person that's bigger than the department. And that's true. But also, we've gotten a lot of texts about Nebraska finally has life. Nebraska has life. They're ranked in the middle of October. They could be bowl eligible in 3 days with still 5 games left on their schedule. We need to do whatever we can do to lock this guy up. Okay, that's fine. But also then when it comes down, don't be like, well, man, we shouldn't have done this. Because you can have buyer's remorse quicker than you probably can imagine.
Well, and again, you're not going to be able to tell the future. You just kind of got to do what's right at the time.
Thankfully, we're not ADs.
I wouldn't mind doing it. And I don't think I could do a whole lot worse than Nebraska
That's a good point.
Done over the last, different hires. But in any case, like Matt Rule says, there's a lot of scrutiny that goes on there, but the money is nice.
It's nice to make a lot of money. That was the weirdest part. He was like, no, don't get me wrong. It's nice to make a lot of money.
Yeah. It's all part of it.
I should look up. I don't know what Matt, not that it necessarily matters, what like his career earnings are.
Yeah, pretty darn good.
So he signed an 8-year. Yeah, so his contract ends in 2030. Because he signed an 8-year $74 million contract. But this is what I'm talking about in terms of the way that Matt Rule's agent structured the contract. And it's fascinating because he basically he only made 5.5 million in 23. Then it was 6.5 million in 24. $8.5 million in 2025. He's making $2 million more this year than he did last season, which is fine because the results so far are fine, right? But man, that continues to go up and up and up the deeper you get into the contract. So then in Nebraska fans' minds, normally the way that these are structured is the buyout would go down. It's going to go down, but not as significant as what you'd expect, because at some point in like 2029, he's making $12.5 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. And if you're not making playoffs, then people are going to want answers.
Yeah, and again, all that is going to be fascinating too, to see kind of the ups and downs. We get in this, I think we lived through the Bo Pelini idea where it's like, all right, well, once you've established your spot, you're not going to fall below that as a head coach.
Yeah,
and you can have these rocky, and that's what partially played into James Franklin, I think, leaving. That might have led to Brian Kelly ultimately leading Notre Dame. Is I think you can have the down, the start, the first year, second year thing. All right. Third year, we want to see where you're at, and you want to get better. Mm-hmm. And then as you have these long tenures, if you go down for a few years and then find your way back up, okay, that's okay. But then when you start going down again, it's like, oh, here we go again. All right, get him out of here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's what's happened to James Franklin. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes too, because those numbers are going to be pretty high near the end of his contract. But again, I think Troy Dannen, if I'm him, I wait till you have to. I'd wait till after the Penn State game, if Nebraska is kind of successfully, fighting for either 9-3 or 10-2 against Iowa. I don't think that would make the biggest difference even in the hiring process of Penn State. So that would be the time that I would probably think, okay, if we really need to get an extension in here to keep him, that's when we do it. But again, don't do it right now, before, who knows what the rest of the season brings. You could do it now, and then you go, lose to the next 3 games and he's out of the search.
So this is the specific structure of Matt Rhule's contract. I just found the specific contract document. So making, as we mentioned, 8.5 this year. Next year in 2027 or 2027. Yeah, 2027. He is making $10 million next year. $1 million and a half dollar raise. It then goes up the next season, $1.5 million more. 11.5, then 12, then in the last year of his contract in 2030, $12.5 million. They will also, for each, this is the other part of it too. If Matt Rhule is the coach at Nebraska, this is the big one. March 1st of 2027, every 2 years, if he comes back, he gets $1 million retention bonus. So not only after 2026, or excuse me, he got one at March 1st, 2025, got $1 million retention bonus. He gets another one March 1st of 2027, another one March 1st of 2029, and another one of December 31st, 2030, which is the last year of his contract. You're talking about in 5 years, you can make $4 million and just still be in the head coach at Nebraska. There's a lot. There's a lot here. It's crazy. There's a lot of opportunities for bonuses in here. $950,000 worth of bonus potential. But once again, when you look at it, Nebraska's paying him well, and it's how much. Okay, so let's say it next year. Does Nebraska have to pay $12 million to keep Matt Rhule at Nebraska? Is that what you want?
I mean, if he wins 10 games, it's not my money. Pay him $20 million.
It's not my money. So top paid college football coaches, because I think it's important just for context here.
Yeah.
This season, Kirby Smart is the highest paid coach, $13.2 million. Ryan Day, $12.5. Lincoln Riley, $11.5. Hypothetically speaking, if you had to pay Matt Rhule $12 million next year to be the head coach in Nebraska to keep him from going to Penn State, he would be the 3rd highest paid coach in the country. Ryan Day and Kirby Smart are competing for national titles.
They have them. They have titles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
So
that's. I mean, it's not that Nebraska's not competitive right now. That's the thing. Nebraska's competitive.
Yeah, but competitive with who?
In terms of paying coaches.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Not on the field.
That's like they're on the field. Yeah, they're kind of competitive. It's better than it has been. But yeah, lots more to break down.
My word.
Lots more to break down, like I said, in this whole conversation. And we'll continue to do so next year on One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
A business's phone is the lifeline to its customers and potential clients. That's why it's so important that you can take calls seamlessly from anywhere, whether you're on the road or in the office. Hamilton Business Technologies can help ensure your phone rings wherever you are. We can equip your headquarters and any of its locations with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we know how to keep Nebraska businesses connected. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
This is your year, where your team takes it all the way. Win way more than bragging rights at Warhorse Casino, where your love of the game could put $1 million in your pocket. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with prizes all season long. Weekly cash prizes up to $1,000 cash, season-long leaderboards, and a chance to win $1 million. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, Sean Callahan here, and I've got some great news for you. Koppel Chevrolet GMC is proud to be the #1 fastest growing GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln metros. Koppel is also celebrating its 50th anniversary. We want to say thank you to all of our customers that have helped us reach these milestones. So come see why so many customers, including myself, are choosing Koppel Chevrolet GMC for their automotive needs. Please check us out at koppelcars.com.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
I can't believe I just scratched that car. Find my insurance card.
Dude, what do you have in this glove box? Ew, are these socks dirty?
Oh, forget about the socks. I need my insurance card.
Just pull it up on the State Farm mobile app.
But I can do that? Oh, hey, I can do that.
Yep, it's called service.
I can file a claim on here too?
Yeah, it's called service.
Whoa, I can call my agent too?
It's called service.
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Krikak, today at 402-474-1173.
Hi, everybody. Charlie Stone back again with Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, there are so many great things to talk about right now. Let's start with new and pre-owned vehicles.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, we're all excited those days of inventory shortages are behind us. Right now, we have more than 400 new Hondas to choose from and over 125 pre-owned with just about any make or model in stock.
I know certified pre-owned Hondas are a very important part of your dealership. Tell us about certified, Andy.
We always have a great selection of certified pre-owned Hondas in stock in like new condition, and they also come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
How about service?
You know, our amazing service department not only services Hondas, but we service just about any make, and we are one of the largest tire dealers in the state. Look us up the next time you need tires on your car.
Experience the best at the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
There are great Mexican restaurants all over town, but there is one that is especially worth the drive from any part of town. Tacos Los Hermanos at 70th and Havelock. Cool off this summer with a delicious horchata or other special drinks, and grab one of their famous taco boxes for a group of friends or coworkers to enjoy, full of birria tacos and many other options. Don't forget their great desserts like tres leches, flan, and cheesecake. Get to Tacos Los Hermanos for lunch or dinner today at 70th and Havelock in Lincoln.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at DoorsPlusLLC.com. Doors Plus, garage doors and more.
Fall is here, and so are cooler temps, darker evenings, and slick roads. Is your vehicle ready for the change in seasons? At A1 Automotive, we've got you covered. From tire checks, brake inspections, batteries, and heater systems, we make sure your car is road ready for the Nebraska winters ahead. Don't wait until the first frost. Schedule your fall car care checkup today and drive with confidence all season long. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Parkview Animal Hospital and Corn Coast Brewing Company invite you to join them October 18th for Ales Helping Tales at Corn Coast Brewery in Lincoln. Enjoy a limited edition brew available at both Corn Coast Brewing locations in Lincoln and Omaha, as a portion of the proceeds will go to support Brave Animal Rescue in their efforts to help find dogs and cats their forever homes. Parkview Animal Hospital will be on location with great raffle prizes and helping bring awareness about pets in need. They hope to see you there. For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O.
You're listening to One on One with DP, brought to you by Canopy Street Market on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on One on 93.7 The Ticket. Jake Bachman and Nick Sainert sitting in for DP today, talking about what is often. I don't even know if somebody will be able to answer this back there. There's a phone call going on. Maybe we'll see if we can get to that here in a second. Yeah, you can go ahead and grab it. See if we get somebody on there. You are more than welcome to call in if you want to. Give your thoughts on the current situation. 402-464-5685. We've been all but imploring our athletic director here to go ahead and let this thing play out to a degree before giving an extension to Matt Rhule. At least that's in my opinion, because I think there's still a lot of moving parts to this situation with the job opening, obviously, at Penn State. One interesting thing, of course, yesterday, a lot of people would say from Matt Rhule's conferences was, again, his press conference was, again, talking about, maybe being able to bolster up the NIL world and try to get a $30 to $40 million roster together, which, again, could be kind of alarming. And he said, he kind of paraphrased, and I'm paraphrasing now, he's kind of saying, it might not be the Nebraska way, that, trying to separate the University of Nebraska and the cuts that they have to make at times with the football program, all of that. And I think all of that is true. But I think it's interesting in the realm of this discussion, because some people looked at that, from the press conference and say, well, maybe he's kind of signaling, hey, if you do this, if we want to be competitive, you've got to ante up. You've got to be able to pay for that roster. And that could be the case. But if you listen to press conferences around the country, that is such a common theme from everybody. And it's going to be maybe getting annoying to some people at some point in the next couple of years. But everybody's going to tell you across the board, we need more money. We need, to compete with these top rosters. And it's interesting because I'm trying to go through that in my own head, because obviously you're going to get a better opportunity if you do have more money, if you have one of the top paid rosters in college football. We get that. But I want to ask you, Nick, because we are, we're just 1 year into the extended playoff. Ohio State won that. I think because of the roster that they can pay for year in and year out, they're always going to be in the conversation to potentially win a single elimination playoff like that. But it's just kind of interesting to see, and we won't know until we kind of get some more data on this, going into years of the future, if this new era of college football is going to be dominated by the top rosters and the top teams in college football that can pay the most, or could we see something similar to Major League Baseball, where we've seen the salary cap does not always translate to who's going to win? I mean, you look at two of the teams right now still fighting in the playoffs. They're mid-range in as far as salary cap goes. We've had teams, over the last several years that have won it. Braves in 2021 that didn't have the top, salary caps in baseball, all that. But then, of course, the Dodgers are there with the number one salary as well. Is it going to be something in college football more to that, or will it be more to what we're seeing going on in high school football right now at Nebraska, where the top, there's such a gap between the top and the bottoms, and that's, of course, is what the whole pay of the $21 million is trying to stop. But we don't know necessarily right now where college football is going to land in that realm, that possibility.
I have a very probably different opinion on this after talking and having a conversation with an assistant head coach or assistant coach one of these days. I asked him, I said, how much does the transfer portal and the NIL and the revenue sharing, how much does that all matter? And the response that I got was, you have to have good coaches. You have to have good coaches. And I'm not saying that Matt Rule is formulating this for Nebraska, because I think there is some sort of truth that Matt Rule has and is speaking that you need to be competitive financially. But I think that at times coaches can use that as a cop-out as to maybe why they can't win the big game, why they can't compete on the national level. They can compete on a lower level against the teams you're supposed to beat, but to not be able to win the big one, they're not financially competitive with Ohio State. We have talked extensively in the first 6 games of this college football season about how much parity there is in college football. It feels like there's more now than ever. And I understand why we feel like there's always going to be the need for more money. I get it, because the market's always going to be trending in that way, in that direction. But I do agree with Dan from Canopy right here in this text. With all this talk about needing more money, when is enough enough? Where is the money going to come from? The second question at a place like Nebraska is, I think, even more interesting than the first. In terms of when is enough enough, I think coaches will tell you never. You can never have too much, right? Because you're always going to be able to figure out a way to spend it. Now, where does it come from? We know a couple of the outlets in Nebraska, but other than that, I'm not sure Nebraska knows where it can come from. I think that ultimately, and this is not me, this is once again from people that are actually in the space and doing it at a high level. Coaching matters. Head coaches' ability to hire quality assistant coaches matter. And if those guys, you know how you manage the money correctly, you don't get caught up in, and it's easy to say this because Nebraska, but like, you don't get caught up in transfer from Alabama. You don't get caught up in transfer from Texas. You don't get caught up in where they're coming from. You devil in the details and you identify correctly. And there's a reason why there's quarterbacks across the country playing at Power 5 or Power 4 football programs that were playing at Division II schools last year and having success. It's because the coaches identified them, and then they brought them in and they were able to elevate their talent. Fernando Mendoza was not this good at Cal. Indiana made him this good. This is not a shot at Nebraska's coaches, and it's not me saying that, hey, you guys are lazy, just coach better. But in a way, that is still the first and foremost biggest part. You can bring in the most talented guys, but if you can't take them to the next level, then yeah, you're always going to want more money because you're going to be overpaying for guys that come from named programs, and you're not going to be able to elevate them. Coaching is, in my opinion, the first and foremost biggest issue and biggest priority.
Well, and I think it always has been, and I think that is specifically in college football as opposed to pro, or college sports as opposed to pro sports. Obviously, where you can get an athlete, you can get a LeBron James, maybe sell them in for 9 years. In college, obviously, you're rotating players often, and so you're going to have to continue to be able to recruit and especially develop, like you're saying there. But it's interesting because that's always been the idea. It's now kind of transitioning to a degree from throw money where in the football program before the roster, rev share, all that stuff, NIL, all you could throw at was money at the coaches.
Yeah.
And that didn't always translate to victories, right? Jimbo Fisher is a pretty good, example of that. Lincoln Riley, who you mentioned was the third highest paid coach right now. They're not getting third highest paid results from it.
Yeah.
So, that's always in that conversation. And then, the same thing here with Curt Cignetti, who ruins every conversation that people try to have at the top is he said, just give me average resources and I'll give you great results. And he absolutely has. And so, he doesn't have a $30 or $40 million roster.
No.
So it is interesting to kind of see, all that play out. I did grab a bite here from Kenny Dillingham. So if you're kind of thinking how much is enough, here's Kenny Dillingham on just that thought. Again, this is every coach across the country in their press conferences talking about NIL and in the constant kind of moving of that target. Here's what Dillingham had to say. Of course, head coach at Arizona State.
Ever, the top. Yeah, I think All In is constantly changing. I think All In is saying wherever, the top end is, we're gonna get there. What I think so, whatever it takes, I guess, is All In, and that number's changing, and that's what All In is constantly changing. It's like the person, in seat 1 goes all in, and the other person's like, I like my hand too, I'm all in. Another $100 in there. Third person's like, you know what? I like my hand too. Or $100 in there. Like, I'm all in. All in's changing. So I think in college football right now, all in is constantly changing. So where are we from that? It's a moving target. And you got to be willing to adapt and move and do what's necessary to hit all in. And them as a program, they're definitely all in, from their facilities to Coach McGuire, his staff, the team they've put together. They've done a phenomenal job, and their program's all in, and you can see the results. And like I said, I'm excited. This should be a fun game, fun environment, and I'm ready to rock.
There you have it. There's Kenny Dillingham there at the end talking about Texas Tech, their upcoming opponent, who, of course, is all in more than a lot of the programs we've seen across the country. And so you heard him say it. It's a moving target. 10 years from now, a $30 to $40 million roster might be at the bottom barrel of what is acceptable or going to win too many games.
And did you see what Greg Schiano said? He said, quote, Greg Schiano yesterday was asked about this. He was asked on Rutgers NIL efforts to date and going forward. And he said, quote, we have not tried. Forget at the Big Ten level. We haven't done it even at the Division I level. The only people have done it is the guy that you're looking at. But now we have a plan.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy. And it's important to have investment, and Nebraska has that. I just don't like, I will say this. We have to be careful. Head coaches, and once again, I feel like I got to put this caveat that I don't feel this way that Matt Rule's saying this. But head coaches have the ability now to easily blame that because it's not transparent. You could ask 100 different Nebraska fans and say, okay, how much money do you think, what is Nebraska's roster? And none of them would say probably the same answer, or none of them would have clear confidence on their answer. They could say, well, I would expect it's this number or X, Y, Z. And we'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. But there's no transparency. The only people that really know it are probably the high-level boosters. And then on top of that, the people inside the building that need to know.
Well, then even they don't know how much Iowa's spending, how much Washington is spending, how much Texas A&M is spending.
It allows head coaches to get up there and say, well, we need more.
Yeah.
We need more to compete. And that could be true. But also, are you, like, a question I think every college football program needs to ask, and this is where I do appreciate Troy Dana and what he said a couple of months ago. Every college football program needs to sit down at the end of the year and say, okay, what was the contract for this player? Did we get ROI? Did we get the correct ROI on this player? If not, we need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
How about this guy? How about this guy? And Troy Dana said that he's going to do that for his major programs at Nebraska. Matt Rule in Nebraska football is going to be one of them here in just a couple of months. He's going to sit down with Coach Rule if Matt Rule is still here, and he's going to sit down and say, okay, what did you see back in January when you brought him in? Why did you value him at that? Why didn't he get to that point during the season? Where's the disconnect? Well, what happens January to fall camp? A lot of coaching, a lot of practice, a lot of reps, a lot of strength and conditioning. It goes back to the coaching, sure, but also You can sit up there behind a microphone and say, hey, look, school X or organization or program Y needs more money. We need more money to spend. We're just not competitive. Okay, but with the money that you are having and are receiving, are you allocating it the best way possible? And if the answer isn't a resounding yes, and you have stats and data to back that up, well, then maybe it's a look in the mirror also, in addition just to looking outside the doors and saying, hey, we need more.
Fascinating times once again in college football. We got to take a break. We'll be back to wrap up the show one-on-one here with DP on 93.7 The Ticket.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I'm Kirk Herbstreit, and today I'm eating Raising Cane's. I want a solid bench of 4 chicken fingers, crinkle-cut fries with Texas toast. Now back to you, Todd.
So the usual.
Make Raising Cane's part of your game day lineup.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Load up on meat and more this spring at The Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, with great selections of T-bones, tomahawks, ribeyes, filet mignon, brisket, sirloin, and so much more. The Mercado has locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, where you can have $2 draft beer every Thursday night from 4 to 8 p.m. and half-price espresso drinks on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get to The Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Hi, everybody. Charlie Stone back again with Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, there are so many great things to talk about right now. Let's start with new and pre-owned vehicles.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, we're all excited those days of inventory shortages are behind us. Right now, we have more than 400 new Hondas to choose from and over 125 pre-owned with just about any make or model in stock.
I know certified pre-owned Hondas are a very important part of your dealership. Tell us about certified, Andy.
We always have a great selection of certified pre-owned Hondas in stock in like new condition, and they also come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
How about service?
You know, our amazing service department not only services Hondas, but we service just about any make, and we are one of the largest tire dealers in the state. Look us up the next time you need tires on your car.
Experience the best at the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Hi, I'm Sarai, your personal banker here at Midwest Bank. I'm proud to serve our community in English and in Espanol because everyone deserves a banker who understands them. This Hispanic Heritage Month, we're celebrating the traditions, values, and dreams that make our community strong. Whether you're opening your first account, planning for the future, or growing your business, estoy aquí para ayudarle a alcanzar sus metas. I'm here to help you reach your goals. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Parkview Animal Hospital and Corn Coast Brewing Company invite you to join them October 18th for Ales Helping Tales at Corn Coast Brewery in Lincoln. Enjoy a limited edition brew available at both Corn Coast Brewing locations in Lincoln and Omaha, as a portion of the proceeds will go to support Brave Animal Rescue in their efforts to help find dogs and cats their forever homes. Parkview Animal Hospital will be on location with great raffle prizes and helping bring awareness about pets in need. They hope to see you there.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
Have you heard about Advanced Medical Imaging Surgery Center? Located at 7555 Pioneers Boulevard, Advanced Medical Imaging Surgery Center offers compassionate, patient-focused care and provides outpatient surgery services, making it possible to have non-emergency surgery and return home the same day. Advanced Medical Imaging Surgery Center specializes in cardiology, vascular radiology, orthopedics, pain management, and much, much more. Give them a call today at 402-261-1085 or online at amimaging.com.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln. When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
You're listening to One on One with DP, brought to you by Canopy Street Market on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Final segment here of One on One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket. Again, DP will be back tomorrow. We did get a text in here from Paul from Pennsylvania. Says you were talking about assistant coaches. That's a big problem at Penn State. There are quarterback coaches that have turned several five-star kids into average quarterbacks. I've noticed that over the years at Penn State. Of course, they have that, I don't know if you've seen the Spider-Man meme of everybody pointing at each other with the Penn State quarterbacks' names over the last several years in there. But, I mean, I think that is all very intriguing as well, is because Penn State, it has basically, they tried to buy a championship this year. That's why they're so frustrated, is they were able to get their running backs, their quarterback back. Obviously, that probably cost them a fair amount of money. But the biggest thing is they went out and bought Jim Knowles, the national championship defensive coordinator. He's the highest paid coordinator or defensive coordinator in the country, making over $3 million as a DC. And so, you know, I think when you kind of factor that in, is maybe the assistant coaches weren't always pulling their weight, or that kind of is adding to the frustration there. That is almost the most fascinating thing to me as part of the discussion, is if they do, you know, if Pat Kraft does bring Matt Rule in for an interview, you're obviously going to ask, okay, what is your coaching staff going to look like?
Yeah.
And, you know, from there, you would think, okay, well, a lot of it is bring your guys over. He's had to turn his coaching staff over quite a bit here at Nebraska from his original hires. I mean, we don't have to go into the details if we've lived it, you know,
remember Bob Wager?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's one, but certainly, you know, coordinators. That's the thing, is would Dana Holgorsen, you know, would that be part of the deal? And then I've also seen, you know, tweets out there, and I don't think it's necessarily correct. It's like, okay, yeah, you bring Matt Rule and you get Dylan Raiola. Well, I'm not sure if you understand why Dylan Raiola is at Nebraska, but it is interesting in that could play a factor in head coaching jobs now in general. Is maybe you could bring a quarterback or a player along with you as well. Again, I don't think that necessarily translates to Dylan Raiola in Nebraska and Matt Rule, but I think that's one of the most intriguing parts when we talk about, okay, how does what would a conversation what is our belief level in Matt Rule staying at Nebraska next year? Is that would be to be a fly in the wall of that conversation, to see what he kind of says, what it was planned would be to bring as far as staff over to Penn State, because you would think, okay, well, if they're willing to throw all this money out there, he's going to have more resources. He maybe can bring in a better staff. But if you've followed college football, you've watched Scott Frost, Matt Rule, I mean, all these guys, it usually is a deal of, okay, well, I'm now moving to a bigger spot. I'm going to bring the guys that helped get me here. So you call it friend hires or whatever it is, but it's guys that you believe in and have worked with before usually. And yes, they are going to get paid more at their next job than they have previously. But I mean, the Dana Holgorsen piece of it, as he's speaking out at the press conference, by the way, is so intriguing altogether because, I mean, Nick, I'll ask you right now, take Dana Holgorsen out of the equation for Nebraska this year. What's Nebraska look like?
Yeah.
And so it would he be one that you would say, if you're from Penn State, we need him to be part of the bring along to Happy Valley?
I'm going to be 100% honest here. It's like, at the end of the day, it's been somewhat of a tumultuous couple of years in Nebraska's assistant coaches department.
Yeah.
When you talk about, I mean, going all the way back to Marcus Satterfield was not supposed to be the offensive coordinator, but Nebraska swung and missed on a couple of guys, Jake Peets being one of them, that Nebraska missed out on, and they had to resort to the offensive coordinator in Marcus Satterfield, and that certainly did not work. Dana Holgorsen and Phil Snow kind of fall into their lap, right? And then partially because of that, Tony White didn't want to be here. Like, there's a lot that, because of the decisions and who Matt Rule brought in, coaches wanted to leave then also. And all the stuff with Evan Cooper and you bring in stuff with Addison Williams. Like, it's been a tumultuous couple of years. The only stable pieces have been Donovan Raiola, Rob Dvoracek, and I suppose Marcus Satterfield. That's been the only stability in the coaching department. You've lost everybody else. You had turnover at every other position group except EJ Barthel.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and it could be also worth monitoring here is Tony White could be available for whoever wants him or wherever Matt Rule might be. Of course, obviously, John Butler would be in a good spot here at Nebraska. At least you think. I mean, things are constantly moving. That'll wrap it up for One-on-One. Adam Carricker coming up next.